How are we doing, lads? So this is just going to be a very quick video. This one's probably going to be about 5 or 6 minutes. This is going to be the precursor to the 384 video. So I'm going to be sort of talking about the changes that I'm going to make and what you need to keep in mind while adding OSRB or something like that to your own cannon. Now obviously with the 384 we're going to need a longer hammer, which means we're going to need longer boosters here. And a couple of other things that I do want to note. One, your OSRB hammer, I tend to just drop it underneath your hammer just like this, because again it's like first to be rendered, or it's rendered after the hammer sort of fall in sync. So generally the first thing to fall, you generally want the highest up and then stagger it down as you've got later things to fall, and then the latest thing to fall will be at the bottom. Sort of what I've got for the nuke here as well, the bypass. You can see the bypass is all the way at the top, 1 rev, and then staggered below that is my slab bust. So now that we've got that sort of out of the way, yeah, so I'll talk about how I like to wire this. Usually I do just wire it straight off the power that I'm powering my nuke hammer off, and I'll just take it out here, and then I'll just usually do it in a one high row, sort of like this, and I'll just have it snaking around. The reason why I do it like this and I don't double stack it is because I've talked about this method before. This leads to a lot of bud powering, and when you have something ratio sensitive like a OSRB hammer or reswing or something like that, you never want to be bud wiring like this. So you always want to be wiring where the redstone is 1 high. So you always want to have it wired just like that. That's generally how I like to wire my OSRB and overstack hammers, and yeah, they'll all just drop after the hammer here. Next thing I want to talk about is adding in an OSRB comp. So this one's going to be a bit harder. So basically we need our own small compressor, like our sand comp, that's maybe a block wide and then a couple blocks long, and we will be then dropping the sand from up higher. Now the reason why we're going to be dropping it from up higher is, you will recall with the ratios that I talked about, our one-shot sand needs to be going off quite early. So with that being said then, because we don't want multiple pieces of one-shot sand interfering with other shots, what we will be doing is dropping the one-shot sand from about 20 or 30 blocks up, dropping it into the compressor, and then we'll shuffle it in from the side. So what a typical sand comp for an OSRB is going to look like, I'll just put it here. You've sort of got 2 routes to do this. You can use either. I personally prefer to use a sticky piston mini comp instead of anything else. So basically what I mean by that is, you can have, it's a very niche sort of scenario, you can use slime blocks to make a very small compressor. I have seen people do it with large compressors as well, with slime and honey blocks, for low Y exposure compressors, but in this case here it's very handy for a spot like this. So the first one that I'll talk about is the standard compressor setup for, I guess, an OSRB hammer. So generally you're going to want it maybe 3 blocks long. So you'll have OSRB sand dropping 1, 2, 3. I usually do 3 or 2. 2 works quite well. 3 is generally quite good if you want to be overstacking as well. You've got that little bit more area. But it really just depends on the amount of sand that you need to put through. Generally, I do 2 if I just have OSRB, and if I'm overstacking as well, I might do 3. But in this case here, what we'll do is we'll sort of outline a mini one for 2 blocks. So what we'll do here is we'll do our standard soul sand compressor. Of course, because this is shaking left and right, we're going to have our sand dropping there. And then, of course, we'll just have our slab underneath. And what that's basically going to do is, as it pushes, it's going to shuffle everything under this block just here. So basically what we'll do then is we can just drop all the one-shot sand in just like there, and then we can just shuffle it underneath a slab like that, and then we can have a booster sitting here. And of course, because we're using fence gates here, we can just have a ladder underneath to get very good expo. And then after that, you can just have your nuke hammer sort of in this next block here as well. So you can have your nuke hammer here, and then your sand comp like that, pretty much. It's quite a nice way of doing it. I'll just get the rest of it wired up first, before I do keep talking. In this case here, I'd usually use observers again. So I'll just move this down. Highlight a block. I think a block's okay. And then we'll just get ourselves some rail. Again, I'm just going to do this off rails because that's what I'm used to. Rail, whoops. Alright, let's go. So a rail there and a rail there. Go away, shadow. There we go. So yeah, we got our rails like that. And now it's just going to be a very, very standard booster setup. So what we can do is we can just have our put our sticky piston there. You do need to be careful while you are wiring this up, because often in a lot of these scenarios here, you're going to run into a lot of problems with bud wiring. So anyway, so when that pulls back like that, then we can just run a redstone repeater into that one there, and then of course a redstone repeater into that one there as well. And that should work. There you go. So that's our sand compressor. And yeah, basically what's going to happen is we're going to use that to shuffle it across into the middle there. You can see that is still remaining as an entity. And then when we do turn it off, it will break. There you go. So with that being said, we can now just wire this up nice and easily. Is there a nice way we can do this? Does that look okay? Looks alright, I might just do it here, to be honest. It's probably easier. And then, oh, I feel like I'm so close to having a really, really nice setup here. I don't really know how I want to do this, but of course you do need your comparator clock underneath as well, just to dictate when it turns on and off, so you don't have it permanently on. But you could really just do something like that, and then like that, and then you've got like a nice little clock. It doesn't really matter where you power that from. Rendering isn't important because you shouldn't have that clock rendering anything. But you can see there, as you put a pulse into it, of course it triggers the capacitor there, and then it starts going, and then it'll turn itself back off again. So that's the first method. Second method I'll talk about is this slime block approach. So this is, I think I was the first person to work this out, this sort of tech here. This was from my old flying machine days when I used to build like massive flying machines in creative for fun. So I sort of picked this up from here because this was a issue that I actually ran into quite a bit, funnily enough, for it. But basically what you can do is you can have these blocks on the side here. So you've sort of got two options. Either A, you can shuffle it all in from the side. So if we go with a slab here, and then we go with a piece of soul sand here, you can either shuffle it in from the front like that, and then what it'll look like is if you have, say, a slab here. This is what I did for my hammerless OSRB, this approach here. So you do need those two blocks there. But the theory behind this is basically what's going to happen is you are going to be shuffling. I need to remove those 2, 3 blocks there. Yeah, what's basically going to be happening is as it drops in, you're going to be shuffling it. Oops, that one didn't work quite right. Sometimes it's a bit finicky to get this going right. It's a bit sensitive to different things. Okay, that should be working, but I'm not quite sure why it isn't. Yeah. I don't even have this wired up. You might need something to... Odd. Yeah, I pretty much... This does work. I know this setup here does work. It's probably just the way I've got it set up just in this specific scenario here. Because I do use this setup here really frequently. Yeah, I'm not sure why that isn't powering, but it will pretty much just form an infinite clock if I do try and wire it up correctly. There you go. So it'll work like that. So if I just put a block there, I might just do it here then. But yeah, it's pretty versatile because you can change the way that you do have it all set up. But in this case here, what we'll do is we'll go soul sand, slab, and then of course we will do our 2 fence gates. So sort of got 2 options here. We can either have our booster sitting here, sort of. So what I mean by that is if we just drop some cobblestone in here, we can have a piece of cobblestone. This cobblestone there, actually I think I want it. Yeah, that's right. And then what we'll do is we'll actually put our booster to just sit on this cobblestone block here, and then we'll have a really good exposure through that. The only downside to this is we won't have good exposure further on. So if you want to shoot your hammer into this, basically what you'll need to do is fire the hammer in from the other side, and then like sit it in the comp, which is a pretty gross method. Alternatively, you can have this sit a block back, have your TNT, your booster here, and then you can fire your hammer up and over as well with that. And then yeah, you'll just have your Y guider sitting like that. And then what will happen is, really, I think it might be that block there or something. It's breaking it. Should be working though. It's being a bit funky. Let's try that again. No. Could be the way I've wired it. No. Really? Works 1 second and it just breaks the next. It's fucking annoying. There it goes. So it works there. Okay. Temperamental little thing. So I put a block there. Okay, great. So you're just gonna it works normally. I don't know why it's being so pissy. I might just go to my OSRB just so I can show you how I sort of have that set up. Oh, where is it? Oh, this one here. This one's broken. But this is a pretty good showcase for how I have it. This is a hammerless, so I don't actually have the hammer here. But you can see basically what happens is that's my OSRB comp there. And I'm dropping my OSRB sand into these 2 blocks here. And what's happening is it's basically just shuffling it back across like that. Might be a better example of this one here. So if I just go refill, should be fine. TNT fill. And I'll just fire it. I'll just show you the comp. Again, yeah, it's just that comp there. So hopefully you'll see. There it goes. Yeah. So yeah, that's one way to do it, and the other way is just having it acrossways. Depends what you want. Those are sort of the three different ways you can do it. I guess you can either do slime blocks lengthways, crossways, or anything in the middle. Really, it's just up to you. You just need to have it being shot with your power. So in this case here, it's quite a tight spot to fit it. But I'd probably move that line of redstone there to the right, and then I'd shoot it just in here probably. That's how I do it in this case here. I don't have this cannon custom build for it, of course. But yeah. Okay, so that's OSRB hammer, OSRB comp talked about. What I will talk about very, very quickly now is how to make your cannons fire faster. So you will notice with this cannon here, we've got all these dispensers down the bottom. But you'll notice with cannons that run at faster and faster speeds, you actually raise the dispensers up higher and higher. The reason for that is to stop intermingling between the shots. And if I might have some other cannons around. Some of my old 2 secs might. What speed was this? Was this 3 sec? This was 3 sec. But basically, yeah, you just want to raise your... There's a few things I can talk about here. Okay, so anything over 2 seconds, you can do just by raising up your power, pretty much. Like for example, this little thing here, I could probably get this running at 2 sec. I just need to change some timings with some parts of the cannon. This cannon here, you can probably get this running at 2 sec as well. The entire cannon should be capable of it. You just need to raise everything up. So what I mean by that, I guess, and what the problem's going to be, is you need adequate time for all of your stuff to be rendered right, but still shot out with the right power. So say if we shoot our bypass out here, and it goes and it falls in, and then we shoot our bypass again, we'll end up with the second bypass in the first shot if we don't have these boosters going soon enough, or we don't have the bypass up high enough. So basically you want to give this the correct rendering, and all have it firing in the same shot. So if I was to make this 2 sec, I'd probably be raising this bypass a good maybe 8 or 9 more blocks to get it up really high. Once we do start getting into the cannon, I will show that. You can see though with this sand comp here, this is quite a long delay for the sand comp, but even then I've got that raised up very, very high. So you still get the right rendering, and you don't get any intermingling between your shots. So that's sort of the first thing that you want to look out for. Second thing again is you've got a couple of things to worry about with your barrel. I think it's on this worm and the 3-sec as well. You don't want your power shooting your TNT back. So what I did in this case here was I had this sticky piston that raises up and down to cut the exposure from getting in. I think most of my cannons use a sticky piston. So this is an old 2-sec that I was working on. Should be the same sort of thing with the piston. Yep, there it is there. So again, you can see the piston just to cut the exposure back into the barrel. So yeah, you'll need a piston of some sort there. But basically, just as a good rule of thumb, the faster you want to go, the higher you're going to need to raise your cannon. That's pretty much it. Just to make sure you do retain all your rendering. For something like your hybrid, say with this 255 here, you can probably keep the hybrid at the same level, because by the time it goes off and it lands in, the boosters are firing. And that's pretty much what you want. As a good rule of thumb, by the time it lands in where it's being boosted to, it's A, not too late, and B, it's not sitting in there for too long. So basically, the second everything falls down, you want it being boosted forwards, up into the barrel, and out. And that will basically, that's what you want to be looking for, and that's how you can make your cannons run as fast as possible. Generally, the limiting factor behind all of your cannon speeds is your sand comp. This 256 comp here will run at 1.6 seconds, and that's the limitation of my hammerless, I think, is it's actually the comp. I'm pretty sure the power can go at 1.4 or even 1.2, but since the comp is limiting the entire cannon down to 1.6 seconds, that's the speed I'm running. So that's where I'd start if you're going to make a very, very fast cannon, say sub 2-sec. Start with your comp first, get your comp going first, make sure that it's doing it at A, the correct speed, and B, you're not mixing over your shots, and then you can work from there. Pretty much, I'll cover this all when I am doing a 384, because it will be a 2-second. So I'll talk about how to get the comp going right, how to get everything going right, and how to place all these dispensers here so that you're not mixing up your shots and it's not going too early. But yeah, that's sort of it for this video. So this is like the preparation video, I guess, before our 384 OSRB, which will be the next couple of videos. I think it shouldn't be too bad. I'm gonna rush through most things pretty quickly at like the speed that I'd normally do a cannon, and not explain things too much, like say your power. When I am doing the boosters, I will sort of like show you guys like where I'm choosing to put the OSRB, why I'm putting it there, the space I'm allocating for it. Same goes for the OSRB hammer, but like the hammer, the 1-rev, the slab bust, the bypass, the power, the comp, I'm just going to rush through all that pretty much. And then anything new or unique to that cannon, I will talk you through. But yeah, apart from that, that's basically the end of this video. So yeah, just a quick little summary. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll catch you all in tomorrow's video, which will be the start of our 384 OSRB. So I'll see you all then.